It's like being rock stars, isn't it? Wonderful. Hello, everyone. We can't see you, so this is exciting because the lights are so bright. So I'm assuming there's 3 of you out there. Thanks for joining us for this session. So this session is named Jury Insights, Transforming Brands, and it's sponsored by Frontify. I don't entirely know what transforming brands means, so we're going to find that out in the next 50 minutes. But alongside that, we're going to be talking through some of the incredible work that all of these fantastic judges have been seeing over the past few days, and then hopefully getting some insights into branding, what the future holds, and all of that sort of good stuff. Now, I will be throwing questions out to the audience. No, I won't be throwing questions out to the audience. I'll be inviting questions from the audience towards the end of the session. So if there's anything that my iPad hasn't covered, please do store that in your brain box and put your hand up towards the end. We like people who ask questions, so don't be fearful. Right, can I ask everyone to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about what you do, and also, I'm going to throw you to the walls straight away. I want a one-word description of how you found the judging process. I'm going to start with you, Camila.
It's supposed to be me. Okay. So, welcome, everybody. Hopefully, everybody managed to get in at this stage. So, my name is Camila. I am from Brazil. I currently hold the lovely position of design director for Latin America at a company called Coca Cola.
Someone's heard of Coke here.
Someone is a fan. I am a fan as well, thank you. And I am also co-founder of More Girls, an initiative that aims to increase gender equity in the creative industry. Please woohoo as well.
Woo! That's a woo.
And I found the judging process to be, I judged creative transformation in D&AD this year, and it was a challenging process because it is a new category in D&AD, so it was very challenging.
Excellent. Well, we'll dive into that in a little bit. Emma.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emma, Chief Creative Officer at Design Bridge & Partners, based in London, but we've got studios around the globe. I judged on the packaging jury this year alongside Jess and many other people. Sorry, what was your other question?
And the one word to describe?
One word to describe, I would say potential. I think it's always interesting seeing where the work is currently, but I think it makes you realise about actually how far we need to push packaging in particular. So I was quite inspired about the potential of the future of the category.
Awesome. Michael.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for making it in. My name is Michael Johnson. I run a small branding agency here in London, and I just spent 3 days locked in a room with Brian Collins. Some of you may know. Those of you who don't know, look him up. That was quite challenging. Sorry, Brian, if you're in the audience, but I'm sure you're not. So I've been looking at branding for 3 days, and there's a lot of things I never want to see ever again in my life. And maybe we could talk about that more. One word, confusing.
Jess.
Hi, I'm Jess. I'm a creative director for Dragon Rouge. I'm based in New York, so I'm British, so I moved to New York about 6-7 years ago. So I was judging on the packaging jury, like Emma said, and this seems like a cop-out, but I'm going to say insightful, like a lot to do with, the work, but also the people I was judging with. So, yeah.
And finally, Liu.
Hello, everyone. I'm Liu Zhao from China. 我也是品牌类的评审。
He is the judge of branding.
然后，因为在这个整个品牌的评审过程中，充满了无数的这种挑战，因为在不同文化中间的一种博弈，或者是在融合学习，也是一个非常好的学习的过程。
He thinks it's quite challenging in the judging process, especially on like the conflicts on the context of Western and Eastern culture.
Perfect. I just want to do a shout out for Carmen there, who's going to be our translator for Liu.
I'm the translator.
Definitely the hardest job on this panel, because just to listen to everyone else's nonsense. Right, okay, so we've asked each of our judges to pinpoint a particular piece of work that is in the shortlist and to take us through why they've wanted to highlight that and to talk us through the process in deciding that. So let's start with you again, Camila. What was your piece of work, and then we'll give it a look. Or give it a look straight away. Boom.
Is it? Let's do it.
Awesome. Right, just to keep us on our toes, that actually wasn't Camila's choice, that was Emma's choice. So Emma, would you talk to us about that piece, please?
We were just discussing, though, that's what we were chatting about, but actually it was Camila, one of Camila's other choices.
Oh, okay,
so
right, well, feel free to chip in then.
Categories. The reason I chose that piece of work, we actually found it really interesting, and it did spark a huge debate within packaging, because obviously it's not a classic packaging piece of work. But you've got an entry that was in promotional and in label design, and something that is extremely simple, but actually potentially has a huge impact. You know, in Colombia, there are, I think, 6.1 million tons of food waste, and 40% of that is through fruit and veg. And Makro is a supermarket like any other with actually quite wide reach. And by simply doing something like a label sticker, but instead of using it in a branding way, they've used it in an educational way. So it's trying to change behaviour, trying to make people think about what they're doing with their food, how they use it. And the stickers, as you saw, kind of give you a guidance as to what you can use that product in. So a banana might go into a cake, might go into another dish. So once it gets past its ripe state when you might eat it fresh, you can still use it. And I think it's that behavioural change that we loved, but also the simplicity of the execution. I think often you see quite purposeful work that either doesn't have the reach because it's quite complicated, so it becomes more of a promotional, very small impact campaign. But this was interesting because it was very effective and easy to do. And so we loved it for that.
Amazing.
That point.
Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and as I mentioned, my choice of word for creative transformation this year was challenging because we had guardrails, but because it's a new category and we wanted to invite as many entries as possible, we had to make up a lot of the things that are probably going to define the category our own, and change of behavior definitely is one of the things that for us defines the transformation. So this project, for example, was one of the ones that really impacted us because it does invite a transformation because it's a change of behavior in a really simple way. And one of the discussions that we had at one point was, oh, but wait, and you have to change the stickers. And we're like, no, you don't have to change the stickers. The gradient, it's a design, very well-crafted solution, and you don't have to change that. The fruit will do that for you and will allow the match, the color match to happen for you. So that's the design. We're designers, we're suckers for color coding, but that's the beauty of the crafting in the project that allows for a potential huge impact, and impact is also something that we're looking for in a transformation.
Can I add to that as well? I think what's amazing about that project is obviously in the stores, you're kind of creating this awareness campaign, and then when you're taking it home and you might forget about it, it's a constant reminder, as the fruit starts to progress in its life stage, that that's when you can repurpose or still use the fruit and veg for good for your food and not waste it. So I think it just lasted, but beyond in store, you kind of took it home and it still serves its purpose all the way through its life stage. So it was really interesting.
Lastly, what we loved about it was in a way, it should set a standard for what's done through other stores. It shouldn't be a one-off.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, it should be a way that we all understand how to use food. So, yeah, beyond just Makro doing it, other supermarkets could take it on as well.
Well, talking about setting a standard, I think that's set a standard for the entries that are being shown. So I'm going to say this is Camilla's choice next, but let's let the Russian roulette of whatever plays choose whoever. And so, next film, please.
Art
I
is
think you'll
magic.
find that's my choice.
Every day for everyone.
Would you like me to talk over
And
the
while
slide?
the Toledo Museum
Yeah, go
of
for it.
Art
Yeah.
has one of the richest art collections in the world, it faced a problem. Its magic set apart from the community it loves and calls home. TMA wants to transform the 21st Century Museum. It wants to champion unseen and diverse perspectives. It wants to be the model museum where everyone belongs.
Well, should we
So
take
the
the
rebrand
volume down
started
of the
by
thing?
borrowing
And,
some of
Michael,
that
can you talk
magic.
us through the
We
campaign
first
and what it
developed
was?
the
Yeah.
strategic launch
If you
pad.
run the film. Yeah,
The transformative power
sorry, the film
of
takes a little bit of
art
time
for
to get
all.
to the actual design. So any of you that are putting case studies together learn from that. But, so now I think we are now getting to the design. Toledo Museum of Art had a very famous, actually, old mark designed by Chermayeff and Geismar. And they, this small company, a local company, were asked to be part of the rebrand. And they took this lovely insight about Toledo being known as the city of glass. And they created this three-dimensional T, which is actually kind of made of glass, and then it turns through the scheme. And I think really I had seen this scheme before last year and thought it was entrancing, and just seeing it entered, I was very pleased it was entered, and I think this is a really genuinely lovely bit of work. And it hasn't been done by a famous company on the west or the east coast or in London with 100 million employees. It's done by a local design firm in Toledo, and they've done it really beautifully. And maybe we could see some of the slides if I can persuade the man or person in charge. Or maybe not. Yeah, okay. Well, you can just see. I mean, in a way, it's a classic identity. It's looking at it in a three-dimensional way, but it's done in a very lovely way. And we might get onto it in the discussion, but we did see a lot of on-trend work this year, and I felt that this work was, it is of now, but I could also see them using this for at least a decade, which I thought was, that's why I chose it for today. I can't tell you if it won or not, obviously, but if I were in Toledo, I'd get on the plane.
Anyone? Any?
I wonder if they're watching the live stream.
Uh-oh. Cut it. Don't worry, we've got a beep track that can beep.
Cheeky.
Well, I'm going to guess that Jessie's one's going to be next, but let's see. Can we have the next piece, please?
Milan,
Yes.
land of design, hosting its greatest celebration. Design Week. Hundreds of events, thousands of people. Just one problem. It's impossible to find a free table to have a meal. Even at McDonald's.
So actually, Jess, because we've got a lot of questions to get through, do you want to talk over the video a little bit and tell us what you liked about this campaign?
Yeah, what I liked about this is it really solves like a real problem. So thousands and thousands and thousands of people show up to Design Week, and it's really hard to get somewhere to eat. Obviously, there's a frame of a few hours where everyone's going to restaurants and things. And so this solution was, as you can see, there's bollards in the streets, and there's QR codes on the bollards, and this was with McDonald's. You scan your QR code, you order your food, and your food arrives, gets delivered to these bollards, where this packaging then transforms into a table. So you can then, use this package as a table, and then it solves like the problem of people not being able to, eat their food in the city, finding pavements and things like that. And so, obviously it created a lot of buzz in the design community, but it solved a real problem. So that's why I chose this. There was a lot of discussion on this. We did like this. As going forward, could this be more sustainable, like less waste? But we just thought it really solved a problem, and it was a great solution.
Superb. Well, yeah, we'll get into discussions about sustainability and stuff later on, but I want to move through the examples. So, Lou, if we go to Liu's one now, and hopefully, maybe we could arrange for Camilla's one to come afterwards. If not, you're going to have to describe it.
I will.
Right, okay. Let's play Liu's choice, please. Do you want to talk us through it, and then we can play the video as...
Flick through the slides, then you'll see.
这个我为什么会选择这件作品呢？因为我觉得，它其实，在当下，我们其实不太需要一个那么具象的 logo， 它的一套字体系统也可以成为它的 logo。
He think like this kind of typography can be a logo, but not like a pattern as a logo.
所以他把做了一套非常适应性非常强的字体，然后这套字体它应用在任何的场景的时候，它都可以把它的这个博物馆的以时间线为概念的这样的一个品牌给呈现得很好。
They make a really adaptable design systems, and which based on the concept of a timeline, and it can apply to like different situations and scenarios.
对，但是我很想让大家看一下这个视频。
And he really want to play the videos to show
Oh,
everybody.
no, yeah. So if we've got the video, does anyone know whether we've got the video? I don't know why I'm asking you. You're the audience. I don't even know who I'm asking, frankly.
I think the lady on the third row's got it.
Oh, yeah, so if you can lift your phone up and... no. OK, well, that's a shame, but I'm sure you'll be able to check out all of these entries on the D&AD website where they've got all of the shortlisted work.
Okay.
And do we have Camilla's video? Let's see. Let's give them 5 seconds. We've got a countdown timer. No, we don't. Right, Camila, you need to, using the power of design and words, describe your piece that you chose.
Okay. He just photographed me while I was doing this.
Oh, right, yeah. No, that's one for the album.
Always. Okay. Powers of description. It was a work from Renault, and it was executed in France. And another criteria that was really important in creative transformation was cultural context. We had, and this is why diversity is so important. Not just, of course, gender, racial, but why it's so important to have people from different places in each jury, because we could understand some specificities of why characteristics from the project were so relevant for France. But the name of the project is Plug-in, and the idea is one of the blockers for people to adopt EVs today, electric vehicles, is the lack of power stations, right? And so especially if you're traveling long distances. So they managed to create a new business. They didn't have to, but they got, they arranged with people who live in the countryside that already have power stations in their houses, and that they could rent those power stations for you to charge your EV, either if it's Renault or not, and that's the brilliance of it. And they, on top of it all, created an experience and a business out of it. So it's a pay-for-charge kind of business model. And then we were discussing how relevant it was in terms of the diagonal of where each one of the charging stations is across France. Anyway, it's got even this kind of intricacies to the project that was super relevant in France. And it was a beautifully, of course, super relevant to today because it speaks to a contemporary topic. It was fit for purpose, and it spoke about purpose, and it spoke about sustainability, which it didn't have to, but it was a trend. I know that you're going to ask about trends.
So you've seen ahead.
I know, I have seen ahead. It was a trend in this category to talk about purpose, but it didn't necessarily have to. And it was a beautifully executed project, 360, really interesting. It's a shame that we're not watching.
So kind of Airbnb for EV.
Yeah, that's the analogy that they used. We were not sure that it was the perfect analogy, but sure, it's the Airbnb for EVs. and yes, it solves, as Jess was saying, it solves, and Lisa was saying earlier about her, brilliant talk about impossible foods. What is the human tension and the blocker that we're trying to solve, right? And last year, loads of articles and stories about how EVs don't really work when you have loads of snow and the lack of stations. And of course, technology is advancing at a rapid pace, and you've got EVs today that can go for longer distances without you having to charge. But anyway, it's still an issue, right? And the fact that you're associating your brand with, oh, I'm making life easier, not just for people who have an EV from Renault, but from other brands as well. You can charge your Tesla.
So like a full
you're solving, you're making everyone's lives better, right?
Okay, well, Camila mentioned there that the theme of modern concerns and purpose-led, I guess, as a theme. Obviously, you worked in different categories. Can you talk me through some of the things that emerged in the judging process, and if those were particularly surprising at all, or whether it was what you were expecting to see? I'm going to start down the other end, so I'm going to start with Lou. Or I'm not going to start with Lou. He has a way harder time with it.
Okay.
So.
我觉得有一些在地域上和文化上的一些蛮有趣的品牌，或者他们做的一些很小的创意，其实我觉得蛮有趣的。
He thinks it's interesting to see
就
like
每个有自己地方的语境的这样的一个创作。
Okay, he is quite interesting to see there are various creations like based on different like cultural and local contexts.
Okay.
And so with a look at sort of the cultural context, was that something that other people experienced in their judging groups, and how was that addressed in the room? Emma? Michael.
I was going to say we were on the same jury.
Oh, right, okay, cool.
So it was very interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think D&AD, to be fair, had worked hard to have a good cross-section of judges. China, Singapore, Brazil, Italy. And so there were some very interesting conversations about how do you get towards a global agreement, or disagreement sometimes, on what constitutes, in our case, good branding. And it's quite hard to do, because from a mid-Atlantic Western perspective, we can't help it. We're socialized into thinking a particular way about what makes a good bit of branding. And yet there was it was a really interesting discussion that we had about a couple of Chinese projects that the majority of the room thought were genius, but Liu Zhao didn't really like. I'm just waiting for her to translate.
对 ，Yeah， 因为其实我们这个在现在中方的设计的环境里面，它会面临两种情况，一种是在完全的向西方学习。
In current Chinese design industrial, there are two distinct groups of people regarding to different approaches. One group is learning or adult to Western design language.
然后另外一方面是在做自己的地方性的本土的创作。
And the other groups is focusing on local cultural creations, that kind of stuff.
所以其实这个本身我们就会有很大的自己在我们的国家里面都会有一些争议，就是有一些作品。
So there will be something the words will be a little bit conflicts even in China.
就是会有不同的一些意见。
So they will have different opinions towards different words.
And so the piece that Michael was talking about, was that one that was sort of a local Chinese piece that you'd seen examples of, but Michael may not have? What was
Yeah, there were two pieces that, to broadly Western eyes, looked genuinely brilliant and, pardon my French, but what the fuck? And we were just blown away by them and were just supremely jealous at how great they were. But it was so funny.
我觉得没有那么大的差异，只是说您觉得很好的，可能我们还觉得还没有到 best 的那个最好的。
It's not that large difference, but it seems like sometimes Michael think is really great, but for him it's not the best one.
Yeah. I know.
Well, that's what we want to hear. We don't care about when everyone agrees on stuff. We want to hear about the tensions in the room.
But to be fair, he's young and new, and I'm old and grey. So I actually think that his view is much more important, actually.
No.
Actually, in our category too, we had projects that really needed the cultural context, and so we actually brought you in to kind of help give us a little bit more context. And D&AD were really good at kind of finding people in that community to come in and talk to us and make us understand a little bit more. Because there was debates about it, maybe you guys aren't getting it, and then maybe we'd hear cultural context and still be well, yeah, no. Still not great, but
still no.
Yeah, still no. But good that you know the context,
Brave try, but no.
So basically, lots of Westerners going, "That's amazing," and Liu coming and going, "No, it's rubbish," and then that's at the end of the debate.
Yeah.
And yeah, did you have similar discussions? Obviously, your category is slightly different, Camila, because you were defining the rules of it at the same time.
Yeah.
Did you find that there were localization sort of trends, and how did you deal with those sort of discussions in the room?
No, not really as much localizations, but there were some discussions where providing cultural context was key to understand. First of all, to understand if the project had happened, if the transformation had happened effectively or not. Mm-hmm. And mind you, it might be the case that there were projects that the transformation was not complete. It was part of, it was the role of the person that was, submitting the entry to say how complete the transformation was, and if it wasn't, it was fine, but it could go up to a certain point in the process. But more than providing local context to the project to say, oh yes, this definitely happened, it was really impactful, or etc., which happened a couple of times. It was to say, oh, this feels like bullshit. No, this didn't happen. And there were a couple of times that again, we had one person in the jury that we named her the official researcher for the group. She always said, no, I looked it up, and I saw the metrics, and I saw the results, and I saw this, and I saw that. And we were like, oh my God, how long did you take to judge all the pieces? This is insane. You've done all the research. She became our official researcher.
The bullshit detector.
The bullshit detector, because we had to call bullshit in some of the projects, some of the claims as well. Oh, because we promised that the transformation will, the potential, you were talking about potential, right, Emma? The potential to achieve this, this, and that, and we're like, I call bullshit. You will not achieve that.
That's actually, I was going to go to Emma next, actually, because it's something that you brought up in the piece that you showed us. So when you're in the room and you're discussing the work, how much of your discussion is based on the fact that this is beautiful, this is incredibly sort of fit for purpose, and it works really well in a design sense? And how much of it is like, actually, the impact of this can go further? I mean, sometimes can things sit alongside each other? You know, not everything has purpose. So
I think they should, though, because when you actually interrogate what fit for purpose means, that doesn't always have to translate into a huge social impact or a cultural impact. I think you also have to think about the business impact, the brand impact. So when you're in a category like Rebrand, for example, that's very different to, and you can get swept up, I think, with the social side of things and the purpose behind things and the great intent. And part of what we talked about quite a lot was just celebrating the diversity of packaging and the role it plays in people's lives, for brands. And having good intent and having a good impact and, through the sustainability lens or whatever is important, but I don't think you can just purely judge it on that. That is something that brands should always want to achieve, but I think you also have to recognise great design, great ideas, exceptionally crafted pieces of work that are brand-led as well as exceptional too. So just, in a way, raising up the many different types of packaging that exist in the world.
And were there any, I know we seem to be covering territories quite a lot, but I'm interested. So were there any territories that, in all of your categories, you felt were sort of pushing those boundaries? And were there any territories that you feel maybe they're not exploring it as far, or maybe they're not being as experimental enough?
I was surprised at how little was entered into upstream innovation, for example. I actually expected to see far more provocative, thoughtful pieces of work. It was actually a category that didn't have much entered into it. And then when it did, you questioned how progressive that was versus something that already exists in the world. And again, the impact based on that, because in something like that, it should have a huge impact. So there were some interesting pieces, but nothing that really stood out as completely groundbreaking that surprised us all and got us excited about, the role of packaging. I think actually we thought, what are people doing? And people should be doing more, like myself, Jess included, in that, we all have a role to play, but actually like pushing that agenda harder should be something that we're all doing. I mean, it's interesting, if you think of packaging as a category, in the future, should we judge all packaging through the lens of sustainability? And that's difficult, because obviously we want to celebrate great design, but if that were a filter, then it would rule out a lot of packaging that is created. So that's a debate. But
and is that part of the submission process? Do people have to
it's a lens.
Comment on it?
It's a lens, and you can talk to how you're changing the process or affecting how what you're doing, or what the materials you've chosen to use, or the process that you've gone to produce the piece of work have changed the impact that it will have. So it is conscious. I would say there's a lot of conscious design, but it's just, when does it become a point when you can't just be conscious about it, but you have to be effective with it, maybe.
So, Michael, I think your word was confusing when you.
Yes.
Was that to do with the fact that people weren't pushing things further? What was your confusion?
Well, gosh, after 3 days of looking at stuff, I think that my confusion, and perhaps you heard some of the cultural intrigue, as it were. I think the confusion comes from the fact that the branding category now in D&AD is huge. It's absolutely vast. When I started doing this back in the 1930s, my job was to my job was very simple. I would get a rotring pen out and design a logo. But now, Now, wow, branding is a huge category. Over 900 entries, something like 8% of the entire D&AD entries were in branding. We had to split the judging across 2 juries, and so it meant that actually the shortlisting was split. Sorry, I'm getting into the weeds a little, but just to explain the word. So we come together, and the shortlisting has been done side by side, and you've not seen 493 entries, because by definition it's been done somewhere else. And then you get into the fact, so A. B, then you get into the fact that branding, and I'm wondering how many people do branding in the room. I'm guessing quite a few. Branding is in a very strange space at the moment where everything looks the same. Yeah? Every fintech, every charity, every supermarket is all the same. Stickers, colors, spinny-wizzy stuff, what we call in the business a bento box, i.e. these little kind of rounded corner boxes with things swirling and spinning, and I never ever want to see a bento box ever again. So the confusion, if you like, now that everyone could do branding and 900 people showed it, then the bar, if you like, of okayness gets quite high, but as ever really with any design competition, there's not a massive amount that gets over really quite good. Yeah, and really quite good, anyone can do it, yeah? Everyone can get the program. Everyone can use Canva or this, that, or the other, and yeah, everyone can do quite a good scheme. And critically, maybe to pick up on a comment that was sort of referred to here, everyone can make a project look real, yeah? We can all find a mock-up. We can all stick a logo on, and we also spent an inordinate amount of time trying to work out, was the project real? Did it happen? What percentage of this project actually happened? Okay, and I'm not trying to be neggy here, I'm just letting you know that it's hard. It's really hard. Trying to call bullshit, trying to work out what was really genuine. So funnily enough, one of the reasons why I like Toledo and brought it along is because it actually happened. It's real. You go on the website and there it is. You go to the museum and there it is. And gosh, I come away from it. And I'm going to sit my designers down this week and say, look, guys, we've really got to make sure that this stuff is real. Don't just like do a few mock-ups and go home, you know.
Well, we talked about waiting as well. Because I think there's obviously, you're very excited when something launches, but just by waiting a year, you get to see how all of those amazing thoughts that you have actually come to life in reality. And then you have a richer story to tell, and you have the evidence to back up, you know, how well that design has affected the brand.
It takes a lot of patience to do that.
And it takes a lot of patience, yeah.
Because if you think about it, the graphic designers finished it. It's the 31st of March. They're so proud of it. It's been out 2 weeks. Someone says it's D&AD soon, and they go, yeah, let's enter it. And actually, the sucker here, on the other end of it, is looking at a logo and maybe a reskinned top of a website, and then there's 17 slides in between, and you know it's not real yet. So how do you judge something isn't quite real yet? Was our question for days.
Well, I mean, yeah, you were trapped in the room with each other for days and days. And so, as I said earlier, we like the juicy stuff. We don't like it when everyone agrees on stuff. So I'm going to throw to you now, Jess. What were the sort of biggest points of debate in the room, and where were people sort of digging in their heels as to, no, it really has to hit this target or whatever?
I think, well, there was debate around cultural context and really understanding the background of a project, and before you can judge it, you know, like you can't just judge it through, like in my case, a Western lens. And so that was one of the debates. I think what we've already touched upon, like obviously design that serves a real purpose and solves a real problem, versus a design that is beautifully designed and also solves a problem, but it's like a brand problem, you know, and then the purpose, you can get swayed by this bigger purpose, which is, you know, what we all want to do, like change the world. Everyone wants to change the world for the better. But, you know, there's still merit in solid, beautifully crafted design with a strong idea, obviously ideas first, behind it, that it solves a brand challenge and, you know, really does some good for the brand or for standout or whatever it is, that maybe doesn't serve a bigger purpose necessarily, that still has like validity to be there, and we should still be judging it on the fact that it's great design. So I think that was like not a tension there, but, you know, not to get just wowed by all of like the bigger picture, which is obviously very important.
So there are no fist fights in the room?
No fisty fights, just healthy debate.
What a disappointment. No, I'm conscious that I've written loads of questions and already given it to you guys, but I really want to hear some questions from the audience because you lot look a lot cleverer than me. So do we have any questions out there? Bear in mind, I can't see anyone.
Well, the hand went
there's a hand.
straight away.
Is there a mic
Straight away.
person? There's a mic. Wait, 1 second, sorry. There's a mic coming to you, just down here.
I mean, it was immediate. I mean, it was a nanosecond. Went straight. It better be good, though.
Please go.
Hope it's on. It's on. Regarding the sticker on the overripe vegetables and fruits, if they do get the prize of winning it, how would this really good idea be further progressed in real life? Would they be given like a budget to present to the supermarket, or would they kind of like?
It is a live project, otherwise, God help us, put it through. So Makro is a supermarket in Colombia.
In Brazil as well.
And I think it rolled out across, I could be wrong, but 22,000 stores. So again, another reason why we gave it merit, because of the actual impact. But something that came off, the conversation that came off the back of that was, again, is it a isolated, intentional piece of design, or is it part of a bigger scheme that Makro as a supermarket are doing through the lens of sustainability? So in an ideal world, I imagine that this is part of a bigger thought that they have, an approach to packaging, the way that they sell all of their goods in store, and this is just one part of what they would like to do in terms of change. And that's why we found it really interesting. But yeah, I hope it exists, otherwise we're going to look very silly.
Have you seen it in Brazilian macros?
I haven't.
Oh, dear.
Makro is one of those huge supermarkets. So it's hard to see in the middle of the city. You know?
Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
You've got someone to do your shopping for you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the bullshit detector's out there getting the.
Do you know what? I have to be my bullshit detector. I'm going to a Makro the minute I'm back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you can update us all. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Come with me.
I'd love to.
Anything else from the audience? Just one extremely keen person and the rest of you.
Yeah.
Cowards. I'm kidding. Don't worry, I've got loads of stuff here. So, I put it in here as a bit of a dirty word because it's just that annoying thing that everyone brings up in every panel forever now. But it is the elephant in the room, the AI elephant in the room. Is AI impacting the categories that you were looking at? Did you see anything in the room this time round? Are we going to see stuff the next few years? How do you feel, especially, I guess your category being brand new, Camila, how is AI going to impact that? And on to the...
Okay. I think Lewis got...
Oh, right, so yeah, we've got...
OK. 其实我们在国内，我们在中国也会经常在谈论这个 ChatGPT 这个事情，它对于我们产生什么影响？但我觉得我们在 AI 它可能可以帮我们去解决非常繁琐的一些基础性的工作，但是更大部分的与文化相关的、与创意相关的，都还是需要我们自己来去解决。那我觉得它可能它的影响是积极的。
He thinks there is a positive impact on the design, and in China we usually talk about ChatGPT and that kind of AI, but it usually in solve the problem which is complex and basic, but is related to more higher or cultural related topics. We'll still think about by themselves manually. So the thing is solving some basics and simple problems, but still have a positive impact on design and branding.
它可以让我们的工作效率可以更快一些，但是最终的文化的那个部分还是得我们自己才会有。
Improve the efficiencies of the designs, but if it's something related to cultures, it's still based on humans, but not AI.
Okay. Well, you mentioned something, excuse me, earlier, Emma, about how you see it potentially freeing up for new jobs within the design field? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a stat that said, don't be fearful because the amount of jobs lost because of AI will be less than the amount of jobs created because of AI, which I think is interesting. I would say, yeah, you can be a bit fearful of it, but I think generally it will massively help us in the way that we do our work. Hopefully it will free us up to be more creative and have more time for creativity. A lot of the things that we've talked about doing are either process-led stuff that will mean that we don't have to do things that might take a long time, that can be done far more efficiently, or it will actually enable us to create better content for brands. We're using a lot of image generation AI, so if you think about tailoring photography styles for brands, for example, you know, the fact that you can create that through AI will be amazing, because obviously it's a time-consuming thing, but to make it more targeted for brands is fantastic. But then it allows you to spend your time more focused on the ideas, more focused on the bigger thinking for the brands and what, you know, the briefs that you've been set. So hopefully.
And I do have a build on that based on what Michael just said, actually. I really do believe that because AI is the next internet revolution, and it will solve and be the running river underneath everything that we do very soon, not now, but very, very soon, there will be that much value on what's real and what's human for everything that we do. So I am very keen on what Michael just described, on grabbing on what is real. That's what I'm very focused on.
Well, actually, I mean, we've got 2 minutes left, so I want everyone in this room, you know, future designers, people who work in branding right now, to take away something from this, from the people who are in the room for the judging. So what can you tell us are the things that you think makes a submission, be it in the submission process or in the work itself, elevate itself to that pencil standard?
Top to bottom, clear, relevance to brand, strategy, amazing craft. To get a pencil at D&AD is beyond an honor. Really, it's insane. So the last level of discussion was really, does it have enough craft to really deserve a pencil? Yes, it's an amazing, inspiring idea. Metrics are there, results are there, that's fantastic. But does the whole package deliver what we consider to be D&AD standard? So it needs to be really 360, top to bottom.
Emma, anything to add to that?
Very quickly, I would say it was interesting judging this year and 3 years ago. There's very few things that truly stand out for being exceptional and something you've never seen before. So I guess just part of the process of design is just trying to push yourself. Well, like, what if? How can we do this differently? How can we push it further? You know, and all the things you've talked about, ideas, execution, all of those things are relevant, right? You know, relevance for brand. But I just think it's trying to push it beyond just the expected, because when you do see everything in the room, things very quickly become
blend
one.
in.
And then the ones that really stand out, and that's why they get the pencil, are the ones, you know, there's fewer of those. So just push yourself.
Michael, what can help your confusion?
Well, I think everyone can get to a certain level in the world where I work now, in the branding world, and you can do it anywhere in the world, and you can get to Basecamp quite quickly and quite easily now. And we saw a lot of Basecamp things that nearly got onto shortlist or didn't, and there's no doubt that you could do some work, you could gather all the work from around the world and do stuff that looked like that and do okay. But if you want something to stand out at a global competition like D&AD, it has to be much more than okay, and in an ideal world doesn't look anything like anything else in the room. Very easy, glib thing to say on a stage, yeah? But how do you do something that transcends the trends and zags when everyone else is zigging, yeah? But when you, I tell you, when you've seen 670 zags, you're desperate for a zig, yeah? And so if you can do that, then that's half the battle. But that is a battle, because you have to battle your team, your creative director, your client even, to say, no, everyone else is doing this. It's a tough thing to do, but that would be my takeout. Just try and go a different direction and fight your battles. Stand up for something that stands out.
Yes.
Jess, anything to add to that?
I mean, these guys have already covered so many things by now, so I think I'll say something kind of practical as well. Like, the imagery now is like, you know, all bangs and whistles and beautiful. I think the write-ups are super important to give that context and to really, really, you know, explain the why. A lot of entries, like, you know, don't really explain what the idea is even. And, like, hopefully there's an idea in there, but, like, and, you know, it should be easy to see, but spend the time on really kind of crafting the write-ups as well. Don't forget, people are judging like so many different entries. You need a little bit of context. Don't expect people to then go and do their own research for every project, you know?
Well, and finally, the king of context.
我非常认同 Michael 的这个观点，就是你首先要跳脱出来，找到一个别人没有做过的一个新的。一个哪怕是一个很小的创作创新，它就会打动评审。
He quite agrees on Michael's opinions, and he think like if we are making the words, it should like you should find a different directions, and you should make something even it's small, but like new and innovative.
然后你把这个小的点逐渐的放大，然后把它扩散出去。
You can expand on the small but like innovative points and to spread it out, to expand it, to be bigger.
在我们在整个评审的过程里面，我们发现很多设计有很多品牌，他们都有很好的创意，但是他们可能做了太多的设计。
Or there is some brands they are really good and good designers, but it can also considered as like over designed as well.
就是过度的设计就属于是对我。
Is considered as like over designed.
所以我觉得在整个这个创作里面，它可能也要保持一个，就是它的这种比较极致的一个点，就是要核心的点。
So it might be like quite simple, but remains its core value and core points, like keep it in the designs, but not like.
然后再去追究它的实际的落地和应用的每一个细节。
Starting from that point, that core value, then we can go into like real life applications and like other further stuff.
我是在这3天的评审里面，我才发现，在 D&AD 的这个评审上面，大家真的是放大每一个细节去看这个作品。
Like because of the D&AD judge, like in this 3 days process, he's thinking like everybody is really looking at every details of every pieces of work.
Yeah. So that's it. Every single thing that you do is going to be scrutinised by these people. So please join me in thanking the panel.